Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Pelonis. And now, Dr. Peggy Pelonis.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Leadership Thread. And I'm so excited today to have with us Greg Kinnear, award-winning Hollywood actor, but really, really important ACS Athens alumnus. So really great to have you, Greg, with us. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. And it's pretty great to be back to ACS.
After 45 years.
Yes, I walked out of here amazingly with a high school diploma. Somehow they gave me one. And that was, like 45 years ago. I was here for 5 years as a student and 5.5. And I loved it. You know, it's a great school, and it was a wonderful environment, and it had a warmth to it that still, I can tell you, is still here. So it's great to be back.
One of the things that everybody here knows about you is in your yearbook caption, you said, "Hollywood, here I come." Did you know then that you were going to be such a fantastic, successful actor?
Okay, so that was fake news. I don't remember putting that in there. I think somebody asserted that quote for me, but whether I said it or whether I thought it, I don't know. But I definitely, it is on there. It is in my yearbook, See in Hollywood, and so I do live out there now. So I guess it happened. I was interested in I guess a little bit of the arts through my experience here at ACS. I did a radio show out in Glyfada at the old air base, and I performed in some shows at the amphitheater and in the old gym. And I actually had a lot of great teachers at this school. Shout out to Mrs. Panopoulos and Miss Gibbs, who were incredible drama teachers. And did a lot of different things, and we did some duet acting and forensics. We would travel a little bit, went up to London and over to Cairo, and had a few different experiences that were, just still stay with me.
So that international world, how did that add to your experiences eventually when you did get to Hollywood? Was that an important part of your life?
Essential. I mean, I was so fortunate. I actually am from a small town in Indiana, and had I never left there, it would have been quite a different experience in my life. And, we went to D.C. for a few years. I actually was in Lebanon for about 6 months, and the Civil War started. We got evacuated to Greece. And my father got reassigned to the American Embassy here. So that's why I was here.
That's why you were here, yeah.
So not that much good ever comes out of a civil war, but in that case, no, it was tragic what happened there, but it did bring me here. And that was, that was a real gift. But I think, just having seeing the world from over here and seeing the world from different perspectives and the things I saw, the experiences I had, the people I met, not only here, but in a lot of other parts of Europe because of the accessibility. And then, just having that in my back pocket, going out to LA, which is strangely, it sounds LA has this mystique to it. Yeah. It's kind of a small town. And so I was always grateful for that.
If you go back, you said Indiana, that's where you were born and raised. And if you go back and trace that journey, what do you remember about your childhood?
I had my parents, I had two very supportive parents. I think they were like, what is Greg going to do? What are we going to do with Greg? I have two older brothers. They were, they didn't have as many worries about them. I really wasn't sure what I was interested in. And yet I do think I was kind of interested in things other than a school book. I just wasn't, I wasn't a particularly great student. I could get through school. The teachers were very generous and took care of, got me through this, but it was never easy for me. And I don't know. I mean, they have all sorts of names now, dyslexia and ADHD and all this support and things like that. But at the time, I couldn't tell you really.
Just had to do it.
I just had to do it, and school wasn't easy. I remember that. But I did find a real outlet. I wasn't like a class clown or anything, but I did really find myself interested in the written word, text, and that being transferred to a performance and how the audience reacted. I mean, even you do a little show here, you feel an audience's reaction. That is something that's universal. And I remember that feeling and
what was that feeling like?
It was great. It was a if you're getting a laugh or if you have an audience kind of listening to you and leaning in, it's very empowering. And I think that was something that I studied and I kind of learned and I focused on and I didn't know that I was going to end up doing it professionally, but I got a taste of it and I liked it.
Do you remember that turning point when you said, this is what I'm going to do?
Not really. I basically went out to California. I worked at a car rental place. I worked at a place that installed light bulbs. I bought copper wire. None of these roads were leading to Hollywood or inspiring. But then I actually ended up finding a job that I did like, which I was working for this low budget marketing company. And the thing they marketed were movies, low budget kind of B grade movies. And I would help get the little thing in the newspaper, the little ads that people in Iowa would go see the movie on Friday night because, I had to go and place it in the newspaper. And so I was kind of in the orbit of movies, I guess. And funny enough, I ended up, meeting a guy. I met Justine Bateman through a friend of mine, and she was on a big show called Family Ties. My friend was dating her. They came back from some event and said, you should try out and be an MTV host. And I ended up going to New York with Mark Wolper, alum, and he came with me, and we went out to New York, and I tried out for MTV, and I didn't get the job. But I got a tape out of it, and it was very official. It said MTV audition, and there was a channel starting up in Los Angeles called Movie Time. Before E, did you get E in Greece? Yeah, so before E, it was called Movie Time, and I was one of the first hosts. And I went in and gave them this tape, and they said, "Oh, come in for an audition." And I ended up, kind of getting a job as a host that way. And really, that led to a lot of years being paid not a lot of money, but I was in a place like this saying, "Hi, I'm Greg Kinnear, and for the next 30 minutes, we're going to give you the highlights of what's going on in Hollywood, and we're going to talk to Tom Cruise," and we, do all that stuff, and that kind of filled my days, and it also was like a quiet education. It was almost like a quiet degree I was getting, a familiarity with cameras and the comfort of talking and ease of, kind of presenting. And then I did a show that kind of took off called Talk Soup, which was a goofy show, but a great director named Sidney Pollack happened to see me on it. And he was casting Harrison Ford's younger brother in a movie called Sabrina, a remake. Yeah. And he ended up having me go in and talk to him. And, I tried out for that role and I ended up getting it. And that was my first movie. So it was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Instant success.
Well, not instant. I would say instantly. I think I was 32. I think I was like 30 when I did my first film. So that's actually, a lot of actors that you would see today, they'd start when they were either in their teens, Wow. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio, you can see him in he's 10 years old, or I think Brad Pitt, there's a lot of huge actors, that started when they were in their teens or really young, but I started much, much later. So
there were
still playing catch up.
Yeah. So there were struggles because
For sure.
If we go back to some of the things you said back in Indiana and going to school and kind of struggling and not really, not finding the place that you wanted to be in, and how did you cope with all the struggles? And then later in Hollywood as well,
Always
what
like
gave
that.
you that strength, courage.
I always like that Rudyard Kipling 1910 poem, like If. Great poem. It's about the highs and the lows. And I think at some point he says, you treat success and failure, treat those two imposters the same, and I always thought that was kind of amazing. You just kind of have to, because I've had movies, I thought this was going to happen and this happened, or I've done a show, I thought this, and then things that I didn't think were going to be successful actually were successful. So I think the important thing is to, just kind of stay focused on what you want to do and run the race, stay in the race. I try to work, as hard as I can and treat it as seriously as I can. I have a family, and that's more important than any of it. But the balance of it all is, it's the ongoing horse race that we're all in.
Yeah. It's definitely, Hollywood's definitely changing. With the coming of AI and lots of things, industries are being transformed. Where do you see, that going, and what's happening with that?
Well, I don't know. Is Elon Musk an alumni of ACS? You should get him on the show. I can't really, speak to this deeply, other than to tell you in the sort of layman way that everyone else has seen what's happening. There is a clear transformation happening. The ability, I think the day is coming where if you want to see The Godfather and you want your father to play the Godfather in the movie, you'll be able to see that movie. Wow. I think that the ability to interchange characters I'm talking about in previous made productions. I think that to augment them, they're already doing that with The Wizard of Oz. They've done this big thing out in Las Vegas where they've kind of used AI to kind of transform that film. And I think that is just going to continue to come at us. And needless to say, I mean, the AI things now of starting to see, actors or, artificial actors. What's her name?
There's an artificial actor
Yeah, there's an it's like Holly Ridge Road. And you're someone watching is going, her name's not Holly Ridge Road. I know it's not. That's my placeholder name because I can't remember it. Which is what happens when you, but at any rate, there is a artificial actress that is actually, they have already built and actually is getting representation in movies. And now look, it's early, this is early. But I think there's the house is on fire. I don't know how big the fire is yet, but the house is on fire and how it's going to transform things and change things, I don't know. But at the same time, when I was a kid, there wasn't green screen like this behind me. That didn't have nearly the, you couldn't make a movie. You wouldn't make a movie in front of a green screen. Mm-hmm. And that came, we figured it out, we adjusted to it. So I do think that especially the Hollywood that I have known is very adaptive and very smart at figuring out how to use tools effectively. Yeah. And so, listen, my bet is on Hollywood, and my bet's on the innovation of young people who are going to understand this technology and use it as a tool and figure out. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I just think they're going to use it in ways that we can't anticipate now, and there'll probably be, good things that'll come out of it and rough things that'll come out of it. And that takes us back.
And definitely your bet is on people, as is mine.
Of course.
we want to amplify humanity in light of all the changes, right?
Yes, and yes, and it brings us right back to this poem, right?
That's right.
You stay on the horse. You're going to have, you treat success and failure as those imposters the same way, and you know that some things are going to work, some things are not going to work, but. This is going to be a really interesting time for the next few years.
It is. And you grew up with 2 older brothers, you said.
Yeah.
What was that like?
This feels like the psychologist portion of you coming out in the interview now. They were, well, I was very close with my brothers. I still am. They're wonderful. And, we're always, their crazy brother going out to Los Angeles was always their, kind of like, I think they were surprised and in some ways not very surprised, but we're all very close. My middle brother, I was telling you, he has Alzheimer's, unfortunately, and that's been a real shock for the family and an adjustment. And
it's really hard to see people you love suffer.
Yeah. Very difficult.
Yeah, and growing up that way, usually the youngest child is, the one that looks up to the older brothers, and it's kind of hard to catch up to what they're doing, so they usually take a different road.
Yeah.
Certainly took a different road.
I took a different road, it's true. Yeah.
Right?
I definitely took a different road. There is a Scotch-Irish in me, I mean, we survived the potato famine and all that. If people go, I'm a contrarian. If everybody wants to go left, I go right. If everybody wants to go right, I want to go left. It's just the way it goes.
As you think about your career, and I know there's a lot more ahead of you, but what was maybe the one most interesting person that you've worked with?
Oh.
If that stands out.
Wow. Interesting people.
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of interesting people. I loved Alan Arkin. I worked with on Little Miss Sunshine. He passed away a couple of years ago. He's a fascinating, interesting guy, had a really interesting career. Most of, I guess, I've worked with a lot of different actors and famous people, obviously, and from Tom Hanks to Jack Nicholson, and I like actors a lot. Renee Zellweger. I mean, I could go on a long binge about like great actors and people I've had the good fortune of working with. But I feel like the most interesting people probably are just random conversations that I have with the guy I was in the car with coming here. We were talking about like his experience growing up in Greece as a young man and how much it's changed, and always the most interesting conversations.
Where you least expect them.
Always the most unexpected, and where it's just a kind of side conversation with a person you're meeting, and to me, that's where the good stuff lies.
Do you remember the Academy Award?
I remember it very well because I didn't receive the Academy Award, so I almost received.
You weren't there, yeah.
I was nominated, and Robin Williams received the Academy Award.
Do you remember that feeling when you were nominated?
That I lost? Are you kidding me?
No, not do.
Stays with you all your life. No, I didn't. It's funny because when you go through the award cycle, you kind of know, they've had the SAG Awards and the Golden Globes, and so you're prepared to not win by the time you get to the Academy Awards. So Robin, who was unbelievable that year in Good Will Hunting, he was the front runner, but it was an amazing group. It was Burt Reynolds was in Boogie Nights,
I know.
I think. Gosh, I forget who else was in the lineup, but it was quite a group, and I was able to bring my wife and my mom and dad, I got tickets for Mom and Dad to go to the Academy Awards. They're sitting behind Jack at the awards, which was a great thrill for them. My mom wouldn't leave Jack alone, and it was really great. It was a fun night for all of us.
And speaking of Mom and Dad,
Yeah.
what are some of the, thinking about your family atmosphere?
Yeah.
Some of the family values that are still important for you today? What?
Well, my father, he passed away a few years ago. Had a really good work ethic. He worked hard and he took his family very seriously. And I think that in the importance of being supportive. He was incredibly supportive to all of us. And, so I kind of took that away. My mom has been just a lovely star in my life and just somebody who's, always been supportive and always been cheering for me, even when I could tell she wasn't crazy, but she was cheering for at times. But she's, and very compassionate and kind. My parents were kind people, and kindness goes a long way. So.
It does. And one of the first things you mentioned was the importance of your family.
Yeah. Yeah, my family's that sits kind of front and center for me, and we've my wife and I have been married 30 years, and we have 3 daughters, and they're grown now. But we still have one in high school, but they're older. But it's been a joy.
Wait, how do you think they feel about having a very famous,
Maybe they don't actually watch anything I'm in. To tell you the truth, it's like I'm always like, "Did you ever see me in that?" No, they're not. It's weird. It must be weird. Listen, I don't know what it's like, but I think watching your parent be in a movie must feel like so silly. And so they've seen some stuff. I don't want to say that they haven't seen anything. Sorry, girls, but they I don't think it's their big passion to watch Dad in films, but they're very kind to me, and they keep me right in my place.
I've heard a number of teachers talk about you over the years here at the school.
This sounds
peers of yours that remember you, and they all they remember that determination, and they do remember the talent.
Oh. Well, that's nice to hear. But
you remember a determination of once you got something in your mind, you didn't let it go easily.
Yeah, I don't know. That may be. I don't remember. It's so long ago. I can't remember how I was, but I do. But coming here in the car, I do remember. Some of the shows we did and some of the some of the things that I performed that really. I mean, you wouldn't think doing How the Grinch Stole Christmas in the amphitheater would stay with you your whole life, and yet every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch who lived just north of Whoville did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. Could be his shoes were a little too tight. Could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. And whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, the Grinch stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Who's. Anyway, I could go on, but that stayed with me. Wow. And The Good Doctor I did with Miss Gibbs and like other shows. So
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, stuff stayed with me, man. This school's sticky.
Oh my God. Yeah. So if you had to give kids advice today that want to go into the profession, what would you say to them? In fact, they're waiting for you to, as they're preparing to go into the profession. What would you say to them? What would be the one thing that you would want them to know, as they?
Well, I'd want them to know how difficult it is. Just statistically, it's hard, and yet it's funny because I got to college, I was going to be a drama major, and I had a teacher who came out and said, less than 1% of you is ever going to make a living being an actor. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll go into broadcasting. I don't know if that guy was doing me a favor or not, looking back, because it is, I guess the statistic probably is true. There is some statistical number there that is kind of a dour and scary number. And yet at the same time, I don't know if you can look at it that way. I think Good directors and producers I've talked to say, look, if you want to write, write. If you want to direct, direct. If you want to act, act. If you want to, run a camera, run a camera. I think if you have a passion, and I think this is where the arts is unique. If you do have a passion for something, particularly in that realm, you can't go be a chemist if your passion is doing costumes. I think you can, but I think you'll regret not if you really feel like there's a thing that you want to pursue there. I think it's worth giving the shot. Nice to have a fallback. I was glad, my dad was always like, look, you're getting a college degree. If I don't know about this, all this stuff, acting and stuff, don't tell me. I don't want to hear about it. But, if you want to go out to California, whatever, that's all fine. But, get a degree. And I was appreciative of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's really been such a pleasure having you back.
It's great to be back.
And really talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Hey, you're good at this.
Thank you. Thank you again for joining us once again on this episode of The Leadership Thread with Greg Kinnear.